Hey, hello everyone, dear colleagues. Today is our day of the full-time equivalent FTE, and I have with me one of the giants in the calculation of FTE. He used to be acting director of academic planning, the National Universities Commission. He used to be for several years the director of academic planning in Nigeria's premier university, University of Ibadan. And the name Osasona is synonymous. The name Dr. Olagbemi Osasona is synonymous with academic planning. It's synonymous with FT. We're very lucky to have him share his thought with us in about 20 minutes on how we calculate a full-time equivalent. My pleasure to bring in Dr. Olagbemi Osasona.
Thank you very much, sir. Computation of full-time equivalent and its use for planning. We want to know that FTE is also used in organizations to determine wages of staff. It's also used in higher institutions for staff and students. We want to define headcount before defining full-time equivalent. We can define enrollment either by headcount or FTE. Headcount is the body count, the number of heads. And we want to assume we don't have supernatural students with 2 heads. So we are counting the number of heads. That is headcount. When we want to talk about the workload, a student in Nigerian university is expected to register for a minimum of 50 credit units and a maximum of 24 credit units in each semester. A full-time academic staff, let's assume, I know these have changed, is expected to have a minimum workload of 8 credit hours per semester. Equivalent contact hours of full-time of lecture. 1 lecture hour, let's assume, is equivalent to 3 hours of practicals and 1 hour of administration or research. We will use this later. What is equivalent? What is FTE? FTE measures the overall instructional output of a department. It's a value, it's a statistical value. It's representing the number of students that are being taught in a department as opposed to the headcount. For instance, you can have 3 students in mathematics, but the FTE can be much more than that because they are rendering service courses to engineering and other faculties. So it helps us to measure the workload of a department. What are the uses of FTE for planning? FTE helps in equitable allocation of resources. When you are talking of allocating resources, it is FTE, not headcount, because headcount could be low. I've given an example of mathematics. The headcount could be low. There could be only 10 wishing to have a degree in mathematics. But because the department is offering services to other faculties, other departments, the FTE could be as high as 90. So if we apply, if we want to allocate staff, if we apply the teacher-student ratio to 3, that will not be equitable and it will not be rational. But if we apply it to the 90 FTE, that will make the allocation equitable. So we can apply the FTE, we can apply the teacher-student ratio to the FTE, And from there, we know how many academic staff should be there. We can compute how many non-teaching staff should be in the department too. It's also useful for sharing equipment funds and for space allocation. FTE can also be used to measure the workload of each department. A department could have low FTE, but the workload could be very high. So FTE is useful for that purpose. FTE also takes into account the actual courses offered by each department. Where each student is registered is taken into account. An FTE has the advantage that it can be applied to either full-time or part-time or distance learning students. FTE can be used to cross-check examination results. FTE can also be used to identify unviable programs. If the FTE is very low, then the department may be unviable. Although FTE alone should not be used to arrive at that decision. It can also be used to identify departments that are overworked, where you have excess workload. How do we gather information that we need? What information do we need? This is a major challenge. It's more difficult to get the data than to do the calculation. We can get the data either directly from the departments or from the exams and records of the registry. What information do we need? We need the course code offered by each department, all the courses offered by each department, and we need the units attached to each course. From then we also need the number of students that are registered for each course in that department. As I've said, we can get this information from the departments directly or from the exams and records office of the registry. It's better to get from the two so that you can use one to check the other, the accuracy of the other. We also need to know the name and the total units registered for by a student in each session. How many students, whether in his department, or how many units, whether in his department or outside his department, has he registered for? We need that information. Then how do we compute FTE? One way is to monitor where the student has registered for courses, where he's receiving instructions, and then where he spends his time. If, for instance, as I also give an example of mathematics, if I want to major in mathematics and I register for mathematics and I spend 2/3 of my time in mathematics and 1/3 of my time in physics, then I only account for 2/3 FTE in mathematics and 1/3 in physics. So we monitor such areas and then go to all students and monitor them, add them together. You can see this is very cumbersome. So we need a more effective way of doing this. And that effective way is to use the formula on the slide. And this is very useful. You use the number of units multiplied by the number of students that are registered for that for that program, for that course, and divide it by L, where L is the average number of units registered for by the student in the year. We don't have the luxury of having only one, because the student can register for any number between 30 and 48 units. not just 40. So we have to look for an average, which we will use. We will see how to calculate this. Let's see an example. Example of political science. I have here all the programs registered or taught by the Department of Political Science. For the 100 level, they have four courses. And you can see the units attached. 227, for instance, number of students registered for Pole 111 with 3 units attached. You multiply the 3 units by 227 and you get 681. You do this for each of those courses. You multiply the units by the number of students that registered for that course, whether they are from the department or from outside the department. All students are registered for that course. Then you get the product. Do that for each level, 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, and get the total for each level. You do it for 400 level, all the levels. Get the total. For instance, the total for 400 level is 7,176. Sorry, 7,176. So you calculate these for all the levels. This is just a summary of the total of all the levels. How do we calculate the FTE now? We need for 100 level, if we have 4 students in the Department of Political Science, and the number of, if we have a total of 61 students in political science, and 4 of them registered for 30 units, 23 of them registered for 33 units, 34 of them registered for 36 units. Then we can get the FTE of the 100 level for political science. Remember, we calculated the numerator to be 3582. And see that 3582 from the last slide. Then we now divide by the average of, that is 2103 divided by 61. That gives you your L. That is your L. So you get 103.8. That's the FTE for 100 level of political science. Then you can do that also for 200 level. You do follow the same process and do this calculation for 200 level. Do it for 300 level, the same procedure. And then go on to 400 level, do it, the same procedure, do the calculation. You can now add for all the levels. And then you get the total. You get the total for the Department of Political Science to be 527. That gives you the total. It's just the addition of all the FTE for the various levels. And for the faculty, you add up for each department. You add the FTE for each department in the faculty to get the FTE for the faculty. Now, there are some disciplines, some departments that do not run the course credit system. How do we calculate the FTE for such? It's the same procedure. The only difference is that you have to calculate the number of units that will be attached to each course. Let's take, for instance, a Department of Medicine. They have the courses as stated on this slide. Let's take one of the courses, Med 1. The class size, they have 121 students. They teach them for 8 hours for 8 weeks. So this is not up to a session. So we cannot, so we have first to convert this to a semester of 15 weeks. So we divide the number of weeks, which is 8, by 15 to convert the 8 weeks, this 8 weeks to semester. So it should be 8 over 15. Hours, yes, lecture hours is the same, it's okay. But when you get to bedside teaching, it's like practical, which I said should be 1 hour of lecture is equivalent to 3 hours of practical. So by the time you look at 8 weeks, you convert it to semester, which is 8 over 15, but you also divide by 3 to convert it to lecture hours. The same thing you do you convert for word round. If it is for 8 weeks, we divide 8 weeks by 3 because it's like practical. And then you divide the number of hours by 3, you divide 8 weeks by 15, you divide the number of hours by 3. You do that for all the courses offered by medicine. And then you can calculate the units to be attached to medicine 1. So I said, you first convert weeks to semester and convert hours of practicals to hours of lectures. So you obtain these figures for the medicine 1. So the units to be attached, you can add up with the 5.3. And then we can go on as we have done for departments that run course unit system. In conclusion, I want to say that FTE is very useful for equitable and effective allocation of resources. And the most difficult aspect is the data collection. And as I say, you can collect from various sources and use them to compare and get accurate figures. And the procedure can also be applied to postgraduate students. As a check, when you are considering only full-time students, the total FTE for the university should be approximately equal to the head count, the total head count. But when you include part-time students, it will be much less, it will be less. The FTE is useful and you can use it when you want to get the average, when you want to get the total FTE to be approximately equal to the head count, it's better to apply the university average number of units registered. You know, we have applied the number, the average number of units registered in each department. But it's better when you have the average of all the units registered for in the university. I thank you for your attention.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Olagbemi Osasona. You have shown us very clearly, that you are the juggernaut of FTE. You've made it so simple, very understandable, and you have also underlined the fact that getting the data is very important, but it's arduous. What we are going to do at our end is to make it easy, because some people, he made a first class in mathematics. Oh yes, this doctor, that's what he has said, made a first class in mathematics. So there are some mathophobics, those who do not love maths in this training. So I'm going to make it easy on that. We're going to develop a program. I'm going to work with some people so that you don't need to be doing all this calculation. All you need to do is just put in your data, and the FTE will come out. You'll be seeing it, live and direct. So that's what we're going to do. But meantime, you see, it's better for you to know the thing by first principles. Know how the computer is doing it at the back end. I know I'm taking your time, but I let you know that you did your Saturday practicals today. And what I did at the back end was to write the program. It's like artificial intelligence, write the program that does the back end. And you see, if I had I've made this thing, your assignment available to the 63 people who will score. That may take 2 or 3 days. But what I've done is write a program which provides the answer in less than 0.0002 of a second. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to, but we want you to enjoy, we want you to go through this lesson, see how FTE is calculated from the master himself. Who is the master? Dr. Olagbemi Osasona. Thank you very much, sir. And we wish you all the very best now and always. So that's all for this lesson on FTA. Until next time, just bye from us.